All right. Well, let me start by welcoming you, Angel. I hope that I'll be able to provide you with some useful information today, and I hope you've gotten some useful information from the other from our Success Center advisors. To get started, do you have any questions about anything that you've covered so far?
About what we went over, not really. All the questions I did have were answered in the chat, so I think I'm
Okay.
good on that end.
Okay.
What I am interested in learning is what classes I will be taking for the rec major, and yeah, just mainly how to get started. In the
Sure. Let me start. Can you confirm for me? I don't recall, and I don't have your record in front of me. Are you coming in as a recreation, no concentration, or are you coming in as a recreation with a concentration in rec management?
recreation, concentration, rec management.
Concentration in rec management. All right. Well, then I am going to share this document with you. Hang on just a moment. Okay. So you should be seeing now on your screen our advising form for the recreation degree with the concentration in rec management. As you can see here in this top table, you see that this is the core coursework, 32 units of coursework that all recreation majors must complete in order to satisfy their major requirements. And by the way, I'll be sending you a copy of this document for your records as well.
Awesome, thank you.
You bet. So as I say, all of these courses need to be completed. The core courses are taught both fall and spring semester. So if you are not able to take a core class for one reason or another in one semester, you can always count on taking it the following semester. We don't generally teach courses over the summer or winter breaks. Although summer courses, we have the last several years, we've had sufficient interest where we've offered a few summer classes, but we don't offer the same coverage of coursework over the summer that we do in the regular session, fall and spring semesters. So concentration coursework, everybody completes that. You'll see here, these last two courses listed in the table relate to your internship. Every recreation major must complete an internship as part of their major requirements. For the rec and rec management majors, you are required to complete 480 hours of internship. And before you start your internship, you'll do a 1-unit self-directed online, basically seminar pre-internship workshop where you'll get a chance to think about things that you want to do with your internship, places that might be suitable internship sites for you, and you'll also use that time to do some self-reflection on what it is that you would like to do professionally and how your internship can help to propel you in the direction of prepare you for professional success.
I see. Okay.
Internship itself is customarily completed in your terminal semester, so you will complete all your in-class coursework to start, and then historically students will do their internship as their very last semester. There are some instances where students will complete an internship and still come back and complete 1 or 2 classes that are still outstanding. We can certainly make that work, but we try to have it, be that your last semester will be your internship. So once you're done with your internship, you are ready to go out and get a job. For rec management, there are some additional courses that are required for the major. You can see here that you are required to complete event planning, for-profit recreation, not-for-profit rec, outdoor rec, and sustainable travel and tourism. So these are additional classes that you are obligated to take. And you can see here when those courses are available. And we can talk about how those will fit into your schedule for the fall semester in a little bit. Likewise, a couple of additional courses that you are required to complete. Public Health 99, that's the Intro to Public Health course. That is one of the concentration or courses supporting the major, excuse me. And then as with all SJSU students, you will need to complete a 100W class. We don't require you necessarily to complete 100W in recreation. However, we strongly recommend that you complete 100W since it will have the most content appropriate learning for you as a rec major. In other words, you could take, for example, English 100W. We would still count that, but it's going to be a lot harder for you because it won't be very related to the work that you're doing in your other classes. And so we strongly encourage students to stay within the major when completing the 100W course, which is the writing course.
I see. Okay.
But,
because the rec one will be basically rec, right? It'll be talking more about.
It's like the writing assignments will be more focused on recreation. The kinds of concepts that you'll be using will be couched in recreation. So it's just going to be more consistent with the other coursework that you'll be doing. That's not to say that you couldn't complete another 100W. It'll just be a more profitable experience for you if you stick within the major when you do it. But if for some reason it just didn't work out, if you had to take 100W in a particular semester and you couldn't get into the Rec 100W for some reason, we could figure it out where you could just take a 100W class in a different major and we would still accept it. But we try to avoid that if at all possible.
I see. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And then you have a number of elective courses that you must complete for the major as well. You'll notice there are 17 units required. That equates to 6 classes. Any of these rec electives will satisfy your elective requirements. We will accept, you'll see here, you can take 5 units of electives outside of the major. That equates to 2 classes. So for example, if you saw a nutrition class that was really perfect for what you wanted to do, or was something that you were really interested in incorporating into your professional training, we would discuss, and most likely that would be a fine class that we would substitute for a recreation elective. So that's one of the reasons why we sort of leave a couple of little blank spaces down here, because we could fit a different class in here. We could do a different, could be a class from a different major if that's going to be suitable again for your, for your professional training.
I see. Okay.
And then as you heard in your, actually, let me get rid of that. Should be, that's old. And then of course you have to complete your international experience. That's something that I would encourage you to have a conversation with the Student Success Center advisors. Earlier than later. I think the earlier that you have that conversation with student success advisors, the better able you will be to incorporate it into your plans going forward. There are a number of ways that you can complete that requirement without actually having to do any travel out to the United States. So I make sure that you have a conversation with the student success center advisors. They're the first stop for the international experience. I can help you think about some things that might be possible strategies for satisfying that requirement, but all of the real mechanics of it, how you enroll, what you have to complete, the real details of how to satisfy that requirement are going to be better addressed by the Student Success Center advisors who are putting on this transfer orientation for you.
So I was going to ask, have any students ever traveled for that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, our major, we haven't had any faculty who have led any international travel experiences recently, but the last time that we had faculty that did what I think you heard the term FLP in the general orientation session, faculty-led program, that's what FLP stands for. That's where a faculty member will take students on an international travel, will lead students in an international travel experience. So our major, the recreation major, has hosted a couple of those. The most recent one was to Costa Rica, and that occurred over the winter break a couple of years ago. We had, for a couple of years in a row, we had a faculty member who was willing to do that, but nobody. And then before that, we had a faculty member who, for many years, led students on a trip to France. But we don't currently have a lot of faculty we don't really have a lot of faculty involved in travel and tourism. We have one new lecturer. Well, she's relatively new. I think she's finishing up her second full year at the university, and her specialty is international travel and sustainable travel in particular. So she has expressed some interest in leading a faculty-led program at some point in the future. We don't have anything set up just yet. Incidentally, you don't have to do an FLP or faculty-led program, AKA international travel, only with us, only with the department, or only with your major. If there's another program, if there's another faculty member from a different college or different program or different major, whatever, doing a program for doing an international travel class, if you want to do that, you can do that. We don't, in the major, we don't have any particular requirements for how you complete this particular requirement. We don't stipulate that. So if you want to do it through another major or another class or another college, you could easily do that as well. We just don't happen to have any going on right now. However, we are in the process of developing a way for our majors to satisfy this requirement, going through an organization that's called the National Outdoor Leadership School, NOLS, N-O-L-S. It's a very famous sort of outdoor recreation training organization that has historically taken students on these kind of, you go on these sort of month-long excursions out into nature, and you do sort of hiking and backpacking, and you learn leadership skills and outdoor skills. And we are working with the folks who organize the study abroad, and it's called Study Abroad and Away, because the university recognized that a lot of students didn't have the opportunities to travel internationally, and so they sort of adjusted some of the expectations, and they adjusted the way that the program is organized. And so now you can engage, you can still satisfy that international experience requirement even if you don't travel outside of the United States. There just has to be a what I guess you would call it a substantial cultural or intercultural exchange component of whatever program happens to be satisfying the international experience requirement. So we're trying to identify if there's ways that we could make that work. So that's one option, although it's not for sure. If you have an interest in sort of outdoor recreation, more nature-based recreation, that might be something for you to consider. Previously, there was, and we're hoping that there will be again, there was another way to satisfy this requirement, which was working with elementary school kids from San Jose who would go to a week-long kind of science and sort of a outdoor science lab in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Oh, is it like science camp for like middle schoolers?
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, with the fires last year, that camp burned down. So we don't know when that's going to be available. So hopefully, that's why I say hopefully it will be back. But right now it's just inactive because there's no camp right now since it all got burned down.
Right.
But that's another option. So anyway, there are lots of different ways for you to explore that. I wouldn't worry too much about it just at this point, because you're just sort of, you're starting over now with San Jose State. You're transitioning out of being in community college, and you're moving into this 4-year degree system. So there's going to be some different language. There's going to be other things that you're going to be adjusting to. So don't get too bogged down in the international experience. Don't get too worried about it. But it's a good thing to start thinking about. At least kind of have it on your radar, like that's something else that I need to do. I don't want to, don't forget about it and leave it to the last minute.
I was gonna ask for the
Yeah.
past, those how you're talking about when they went to Colombia and when they did those past teacher leadership
Hmm.
international visits.
Yep.
You know how long they lasted? And
Yeah, it's usually about a week or 10 days.
I see. That's okay. Yeah, that's not bad. I was thinking something different, but like, yeah, because I remember in the main room when they
Mhm.
told us about the international experience, it has to be more than 9 days, and
Yeah,
yeah. So I was thinking like I don't know why, but I'm picturing like a semester over there, and at the same time, I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's what he means or if he means something different.
no, no. You can certainly do a semester abroad. I mean, there is education abroad as an opportunity. So, for example, if you said, gosh, I would really love to go and study in Costa Rica at a university in Costa Rica for a semester, you could certainly do that. And that would more than qualify for your international experience. But this particular requirement only it's a very short duration. So yeah, if you can do it for 10 days, I think is or as you say, 9 days, I think is the minimum. So as long as you meet that requirement, you don't have to go beyond that. But of course, you are always welcome to, if it's something that works within your calendar and works with your finances. If you wanted to do an education abroad semester, then by all means you could do that, and certainly that would qualify. But they are two different things.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions so far about the major?
No.
Okay.
Everything seems pretty clear.
Yeah. Okay. Now, obviously a lot of what you're going to be encountering as you transition into San Jose State, there's going to be different language that you're going to hear. There's going to be different terms. So it's totally normal to feel a little disoriented. It's totally normal to be struggling a little bit with some of the language and some of the terminology. Don't stress about it. If anything isn't clear, you can always reach out to major advisors, myself, and there are several other major advisors that you can reach out to. And you can always reach out to the Student Success Center advisors, because if they can't answer your question, they'll redirect you to us if it's major specific. So anytime something's not clear, please understand that we are here as a resource for you. So no need to feel lost, no need to feel frustrated. If something isn't clear to you, just reach out to us and we'll get it straightened out. I know some students have had a little bit of a struggle in the past, not really knowing what terminology means, not knowing sometimes what abbreviations mean. So if anything isn't clear to you, please don't hesitate to get in touch with somebody who can help.
Okay. Awesome. We'll do.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask, so we've done a little bit of sort of, this is what the degree looks like. These are some of the requirements. Now I want to, before we move on, I want to turn the questions back on to you. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and a little bit about why you are pursuing the degree in recreation?
Sure. So a little bit about my background is I currently am still going to Foothill Community College. I've been going there for 3 years now. This is my last year. I'm transferring to San Jose State in the fall. The reason I got into recreation is because during my high school years, I didn't really know what kind of major I wanted to go into. So I was still kind of thinking things out, looking at different majors. Law enforcement was one of them. And then I also looked at engineer and, a bunch of different ones. I saw their requirements and I don't know, a lot of them didn't speak out to me. They had stuff that I liked, but not fully, what I wanted to do. And I remember that in high school, I always did a summer job with a summer camp. And it's the recreation department in my city, the city of Mountain View. So that kind of got me thinking, okay, what if I wanted to do recreation, And little by little, I started talking to the people, getting more affiliated with them, knowing what kind of stuff they do on a basis. And there's this person named Greg who talked to me about, he was just we're doing chit chat. What kind of college you're gonna go to? How's everything going? He was kind of like a mentor. And so I told him I don't really know what major I want to do yet. And Greg, being a supervisor of the recreation management division, saw that I really like doing the job. I like interacting with the kids. I like doing basically downtown events where we get to talk to the public and we get to basically host little games. And he's just like, you know what? Do you really like this job? And I told him, yeah, it's pretty fun. I love doing everything. Uh, every time there's like some job needed or they need someone extra from camps that they just need extra hands, I'm always down to help. There are tough parts, like lifting some not machinery, but lifting some heavy objects to different places at times. But there are definitely things I can manage. They're not that hard, and honestly, working with the people is like really fun.
Mhm.
And that's what I really liked about the job. So he's just like, why don't you try looking more into like our division stuff? So I told him, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I'm like, what did you do in college? So I kind of asked for his opinion, like, what did he do? And he told me that he also struggled with his major. He didn't know what he was doing. He did a past major that really didn't work out. Like he completed it. He got a job in, I think it was finance or something, but in the end, it just didn't work. He didn't feel like that was his calling, like that's what he wanted to do. So he went back to San Diego State and he tried recreation. He found that he loved it and he's been doing it ever since. And you know, uh, I kind of feel like he kind of understands how I feel because I didn't know what to do at that time. A lot of people were asking me, "What are you majoring in?" and I didn't really have a complete answer for them. So I thought, okay, I'll look more into recreation, and yeah, recreation park management. That's kind of like where I want to be at. It's kind of fun. It's really something I can say that I'm happy doing, and the people I work with make it better. So yeah, that's where I got the idea for recreation management as my major.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Good. Good. Well, you're already a step ahead of a lot of other folks because recreation is not, as I'm sure you have discovered, recreation is not a destination major. In other words, people in high school aren't targeting becoming recreation professionals. It's one of those professions that it's sort of everywhere, but nobody really knows about it.
Definitely
You
hidden.
know, yeah, it's one of those things, and the ways that a career in recreation touch people's lives are multiple throughout the lifespan. And so it's interesting. It's interesting to note that as much as we'll say the United States, it's probably generally true worldwide, but we'll limit it just here to the United States, that people in the US spend a lot of time working so that they can go and recreate, so that they can go and sort of do things that are fun. And a lot of folks really don't even recognize just how much that means to them in their personal lives, just going to the park with their kids, going on vacation, you name it, going to amusement parks. So really, the world of professional recreation provision or leisure services management is really broad. You have really, in many ways, not limitless, but pretty limitless, clearly, almost close to limitless opportunities, because you can work in the public sector if that's what you like to do. If you want to work in parks and recreation for a municipality, say you want to stay in Mountain View, you want to work for Mountain View Community Services, you can do that. If you decided that you wanted to go work for, in the private sector, either working for one of the big, tech companies often have a person who coordinates recreation activities for their employees. You can go work for amusement parks, theme parks. There's lots of different places that you can go. And the skills and abilities that you're building at any one of those jobs can be fairly easily transferred between the public and the private sector. So no matter where you're going, you've got a lot of options. So I think you'll discover that what you're doing is really going to have a lot of opportunities for you. And one of the things that we are really highlighting, we're sort of in this not quite yet in this, we're sort of moving into this transition period within the major where we are really starting to highlight and identify where health and recreation and health equity and recreation overlap, because there's a lot of the same kinds of things that we are trying to do in recreation are exactly the sorts of things that people in the public health sector are doing. So again, things like health equity, access to healthy recreation activities, access to outdoor activity locations, you name it, the built environment, sort of what are components of the built environment that allow people to lead happy, healthy, and productive lives. And certainly there's a lot of, within that framework, there's a very strong component of equity and the disparities that, for example, lower income communities often don't have access to the same kinds of resources that people from higher income communities have, or access to open spaces and things like that. So there's really a lot of moving parts within the discipline. And we're really starting to look at how we're going to create that as part of our curriculum going forward. So I think it'll be an interesting time for you to be at the university and to be in the recreation major. I think you'll discover some opportunities here. You'll have an opportunity to take different classes if that's something that you'd like to do. In other words, classes outside of the major, as I mentioned earlier. Let me just scroll down here. As I
Between you and
indicated
me,
here. Sorry.
I was gonna say, between you and me, I haven't told a lot of people this, but I do want to try some acting classes. I don't know why. I've always kind of found it interesting, so I did want to try doing that
Okay.
on the side.
That's fine. Now, stuff like that may or may not apply towards your major. Like if you wanted to take that just as kind of a class for your own interest, you could certainly do that. We might, that in order for the electives to be applicable, we have to be able to make a reasonable argument that they're contributing to your professional development. We could maybe make that case with an acting class, because it's, learning how to interact with people, learning how to sort of communicate and sort of be and present yourself. So, I mean, we could certainly discuss that, but generally they have to be something that's a little, that again, we have to be able to make the connection. So you said, for example, you said one of the things that you really like to do is you've enjoyed working with kids at summer camp. Well, we have a department here called Childhood and Adolescent Development. So you might say, hey, I'm really interested in how kids learn, or how I can work with, younger kids, or let's say elementary school kids or whatever, elementary school kid psychology, stuff like that. You could take some of those classes in childhood and adolescent development, and we would count those towards your degree, because they are an interest area for you, and they would directly contribute to your ability to become a professional within the recreation field.
Oh, I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
So, like I said, when I was in high school, I was doing recreation as a seasonal job. But as I went to Foothill for my freshman year and sophomore year, I actually stayed with the recreation division with Mountain View, and I was actually doing what you're talking about. I was an after-school program specialist for elementary kids.
Great.
So yeah, I already kind of know what you mean, and yeah, it's just might see that I'm smiling right now because I kind of, it's bringing back memories. So
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you're smiling. It's good memories. It's really, and again, here's another area where you have an advantage over a lot of students who just kind of find this major, in that you're already building your professional portfolio. You've already got skills and abilities that you've been building by working at these seasonal positions, and that's going to make you more competitive for jobs later on. So once you complete your degree and you complete your internship hours, that added to the number of hours and the years that you were already working as a camp specialist, as a recreation specialist, is going to make you more competitive for the jobs when you finish the degree here. So it sounds like you feel like probably community, public service, recreation, that's sort of where you want to stay.
Yeah, around there.
Okay, all right, and perfectly fine. Because we just want to try to sort of figure out what are going to be good classes for you to take. Um,
But it all
uh,
falls under recreation management, right?
it does, but we've got a little bit of wiggle room within your electives.
I see. Okay.
So for example, you've got here, you'll see here rec, come on, you'll see here rec 153, youth development and services. So that's probably, if you want to continue working with minors, that's probably a class you would want to take versus rec 185, which is leisure and aging. So if maybe if you were really interested in working with seniors, then I'd say, okay, that's a class that you probably want to take as one of your electives. You still could, obviously, if you say, well, I don't know, cradle to grave. Also, let me see how I like working with kids. Let me see how I like working with seniors. Super duper. We can adjust that however you want, but but we want to try to figure out what's going to be the best use of your time.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Which one do you recommend? If you were asked this question, do you prefer youth or seniors?
I don't have a preference. I don't work with either. So for me, it really doesn't, I can't offer you, it's up to you. It's what works best for you. And one of the ways that you might help yourself to answer that question is by taking the leisure, recreation, and aging. You might discover like, hey, wow, like that's really cool. I didn't realize there's all these things that I could be doing with folks, sort of in their retirement years, and folks who are a little bit older, and how can I contribute to that population? That might, you never know. There is going to be an element of discovery
Definitely gonna
in your,
think about that one.
yeah, and that's appropriate. That's appropriate. This is what your college years really should serve to do, is to give you those opportunities to do a little bit of exploration and see like, yeah, this works for me, or man, no, that doesn't work for me. I'm not really interested in doing that. Knowing what you don't want to do is just as important as knowing what you do want to do, because you can kind of scratch that off your list. So let's, for example, we regularly have in the classes that you'll be taking, we regularly have guest speakers. And often you'll have an opportunity to ask that guest speaker, for example, if they do work with senior populations, you can ask them all kinds of questions about what that work is like. And if you are unable to get all of your questions answered during the class period, you can always get that person's email and do a follow-up with them later. This is one of the nice things with recreation, is all of these folks are, as you've discovered, the folks that you work with, they're really happy to talk with you. Like they're happy to share, they're happy to have, exchange ideas. They love it when people are interested in doing what they're interested in doing, which I guess is sort of true generally for professionals. But recreation people are really open, really happy to help. And we have a large network of professionals we have a large network of partners in the professional community with whom we work. So we have lots of different people that we can put you in touch with. If you have questions that maybe we can't answer, or you have more questions than I'm able to address, I can put you in touch with somebody else who you could set up a time to have a half-hour conversation with them to learn a little bit more. So that's always another resource that's available to you. We have a very active and pretty well-connected group of professionals that we partner with out in the community here locally, mostly. Like I don't really know anybody down in Southern California that, if that was an area that you wanted to go, might take a little bit more work to find somebody that you could contact. But here locally, we have a very strong network of professional partners.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So what I'm going to propose for you is, and now let's see, I presume, do you live now in Mountain View? Is that where you grew up?
Yes.
Okay, so native to Mountain View, and that's kind of where you want to stay, Mountain View, Bay Area, I assume?
I wanted to try moving into the dorms at San Jose.
Okay.
State. Yeah. So.
Sure. It's a good idea. It's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to feel a little bit more connected to the campus. So I think if that's at all feasible for you, I think it's a great idea. It's a good way for you to meet people and feel a little bit more attached. A lot of our students are commuters, and it's a perfectly reasonable way to go, but it does tend to make it a little harder for you to feel connected to the university.
Yeah, I want the full
Um,
experience. Full
yeah,
on-campus
that's right.
experience.
That's right. You want the campus, you want the student life experience. Well, you know, the nice thing is you're starting in fall 21 when life is going to be starting to get back to normal. This last year has been really odd with COVID. We've had a lot of students at the university, not just in our major, but across all majors, who have really struggled with being taking classes remotely. There's certainly upsides. You know, you don't have to battle traffic, you don't have to find parking. That's always a pain at the university because we do have so many students who commute. But it's harder when you're not in class. I think for most students, that was the general consensus among students at the university, that they really wanted to have more time, face-to-face time with their instructors. It just helped them to sort of feel like they were learning the material better. So things should be normalizing. Most of the recreation classes will be in person in the fall. We still have some that will be only online, but a lot of them will be available. Most of them will be available in person. Now, what we can do here, so let me actually, so you can see here, let me actually do a save as, because we'll do this as Sanchez Angel. Okay, and I'm just going to save that to my desktop for the time being. All right, so this is yours. So let's put in Sanchez Angel. All right, and then we're going to put in my name as the person who's working on with this with you. Oh no, we want this. Okay. All right, so we will start looking at fall 21, spring 22, then fall 22, spring 23. We're going to aim for getting you out of here in 2 years. It doesn't always work out that way. It depends a little bit on how many classes you feel comfortable taking in any one semester. Clearly, the more classes that you take per semester, the faster you'll finish. The flip side of that is the more classes you take per semester, the more pressure you're under. Now, some students are fine with that. I've had students who've come in who say, like, I'm going to be taking, 18 units every semester, but 6 classes. That's a heavy load. Like I need to get done. I want to get done. I've got 2 years of, I know I've got 2 years of financial help. That's what I got to get out of here in 2 years. Okay. More students typically are like, yeah, I got a little bit of wiggle room. Let's kind of see how things go. And the reason that's something to consider is in your first semester, we have to sort of start thinking about how many classes we want to put you in. Now, I want to get you into Rec 90. That's a class that you really should take. I want to get you into, let's see. Now, here's where we might have a little bit. So you have not, I'm assuming you have not taken the WST exam yet.
No, not yet.
And I know that there is a way. So there's actually, I don't think it's, I don't know, Michelle, are you monitoring? Can you give me a quick update on what's going on with the WST now?
So it's now the DSP, the directed self-placement, and it is in place of WST because of COVID. So I can give you the link to do the DSP, which should take only 15 minutes. So I'll do that right now.
So a student has to sort of do this writing assessment, and then that'll say, okay, you can go into this, you can go ahead and take classes, or you still need some remedial writing help.
Yeah, so it's just it's not even an assessment. It's just like a place where you send in your sample research paper, like what you have done in the past, and that's it.
Oh, okay. And then they read that and they tell you, yeah, you're good to go, or no, you need a little. Okay. Okay, because that does have a little bit of an impact, and I don't think that you're going to have. The other thing I'd like to see, so we could put you in 97. I think you can get, yeah, you should have no problem doing 110, I believe. And actually, I believe 157 is in the spring now. PH 99, that might be one for you to do. And I'm gonna put in 100W. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So for fall 22, we're gonna look at Rec 90, Recl 97, Rec 100W, assuming that you can get into it. PH 99 and Recl 110. Okay. Okay. So I would like to propose that these will be 5 classes that you'll enroll in.
Okay.
90, so you'll enroll in Rec 90, Rec 97, Rec 100W, Public Health 99, and Rec 110. So these are all fairly early in the series of courses. You won't be hitting any of your electives just yet, but we will be checking off a number of courses that you're required to take. So I think this gives us some good coverage.
I see. Okay.
Okay, so here's what I want to propose to do, and I do this with all incoming students because I think this is the best way this is the best way for us to have a good idea of what your capacity is, what you feel, and the number of units that you feel comfortable taking. So we're just going to start with your fall 21 semester. We're not going to fill in anything else at this point, because what I'd like to do is have you enroll in these classes, start in the fall, and then after you've had 5 or 6 weeks of class time where you've been getting exposed to the reading, the reading requirements, you've been getting exposed to the writing, load, how many hours you need to spend on your coursework, how comfortable you feel with the course content. All of that is relevant to the number of courses that we're going to be enrolling in the subsequent semesters. So I'd like to leave us at fall for now. So we're just going to populate your fall 21. And then as you are taking these classes in the fall, let me see, I can't quite remember so there's a drop deadline. So obviously, you have a few weeks where you can take classes and then you can decide, okay, I really don't like taking 15 units. That seems like it's a bit much for me. And then we would just decide which class you would drop at that point.
So
you might just
ask,
yeah.
What's the regular number of classes that students usually take? Is it 5?
15, yeah. 5 classes is pretty typical.
And what's the most?
6. You can take 7 classes in a semester if you want. You need authorization to do that, but you can take it. So anywhere from 4 to 6 classes is kind of the average. 4 is kind of the low end, 6 is the high end, 5 is kind of right in the middle of what most students take. So I want to start you kind of right in the middle, see how it feels. Now, with recreation courses, none of the courses individually, I think, at least it's been my experience in advising students these years that I've been at San Jose State, no individual class is going to feel overwhelming to you. The course content is not that difficult. We're not doing nuclear physics here, so there's not a ton of quantitative work that you have to do. It's not like bio where you've got to remember all these really weird terms that you don't really know what they mean. Recreation is a very applied field. So none of the things that you're going to be doing in any individual class, I don't think are going to feel, and there's always a couple of things that might feel a little bit unusual or alien to you. But by and large, it's all pretty straightforward. The area where students typically experience some difficulty is just the quantity. It's just the sheer volume of information that you'll have to remember. That's usually the area where students, kind of find some difficulty, particularly as you're adjusting from one educational system to the other. So you've been in a community college environment that's different than a four-year environment. So the first semester is always, as I said, going to feel a little bit unsettled. It's going to feel a little bit more, you may have a little bit more anxiety and a little bit more stress because you're just not familiar, but that will pass. You'll feel better after you finish your first semester. You'll get to know people. You'll get to know faculty. You'll get to learn the terms and the vocabulary that we use here. And then it'll feel very, by the end of your first year, it's all going to feel very, very normal and ordinary to you. But the first semester, it's just there's going to be some adjustment. So don't get, as I say, don't try not to feel too stressed out about that. And if you do, there are lots of resources to help you. So certainly, don't feel like you can't ask for help. You are welcome and encouraged to ask me for help, to ask the Student Success Center advisors for help. There's lots of other resources on campus for students. If you're struggling with stress and anxiety, for example, we have counseling and psychological services that's available for students. You're paying for all of this stuff in your student fees. So you might as well take advantage of it. If you're experiencing some difficulties or some stress or some anxiety, there are ways that we can manage that. The key is not letting it sit. As soon as you start feeling like, if you're feeling overwhelmed, reach out. Don't let it sit. Don't wait till it's gotten so bad that the solutions become harder and harder to develop. So anytime you're having some trouble, anytime you're struggling, and you may not, you may feel comfortable and great and everything's going to be hunky-dory for you the whole way. And I hope that that's what happens. But if not, just understand that there are things that you can do and there are things that we can help you with. So the moment you're running into any difficulties, just reach out. We'll help you. We'll keep you on track and we'll help you to manage what's going on.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so lots of resources that all of your student fees are paying for anyway. So you might as well go get your money's worth. Even if you don't have any problem, go and talk to one of the counselors, just go and have a conversation. You paid for it. You might as well go talk to them.
Just for fun.
We have a very strong career services organization. The Career Center is very good with helping you with all kinds of career preparation, proofreading your resume, helping you with cover letters, they have all kinds of workshops, both live and recorded, on how to interview, how to reach out, how to cold call possible employers. They've got tons and tons and tons of resources for you. So, again, your student fees are paying for that. So you, take advantage of it. And then, of course, the other thing that we have that you'll get to enjoy on campus is we have the brand new Student Recreation and Aquatic Center, which is did they talk about that in your orientation?
No, I didn't hear about that.
It's you should look it up. If you just Google SJSU SRAC, SRAC, you'll see it's an amazing new facility. And I believe your student fees pay for that. I mean, like I believe that you get automatic membership as a student. I think like you might have to pay for any additional services, if you want to take private classes and that sort of thing, but it's got pools and it's got it's an impressive facility.
It looks amazing.
It's an amazing facility. You can even do an internship with that facility. One of the director of campus recreation who oversees that facility also teaches with us. So if you had an interest in working in a facility, if you have an interest in working in campus recreation, that might be something that you come to discover as an area that you might want to work in. This would be a great opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity to go and work in a brand new state-of-the-art facility.
They even have wall climbing.
They do. Yep.
That's crazy. It's like a gym, but like an amusement park mixed with the gym.
Yeah, Oh, absolutely. They've got I think they've got 2 or 3 pools. They've got the climbing wall, they've got bouldering, they've got functional fitness, they've got classes, they've got weights, they've got cardio, they've got basketball courts. I mean, it's an incredible facility.
Yeah, it is.
It's really a nice facility. So great opportunity, great way to, you know, meet people, take a couple of classes there. You have, you know, you'll see here for your major, is it in here? It's not in here, but you do have to take a couple of PE classes, I believe, are still required. You know, those are like 1 unit or half unit classes. So it's, you know,
That's
those aren't,
fine. I usually,
yeah.
I'm good at PE.
Great opportunity to meet people, great opportunity to, you know, kind of find out more about what's going on at the university. In terms of sort of student life in the department, the right now the recreation management students don't have an active student club. We used to. It's sort of faded out. The student clubs are led by students. There are faculty advisors, but the students are really the ones that have to lead those organizations. And we just haven't had, we sort of had some students who were in charge and we had some continuity there. But over the last couple of years, students stopped being involved and it kind of fell by the wayside. The recreation therapy concentration, so that's the other concentration within the recreation major, they do have a recreation therapy student club, but we just, for rec and rec management, we just don't have that currently. But there are plenty of other student organizations that you can get involved with. So I would definitely take a look at the, you know, kind of look around the SJSU site and, you know, look at student organizations, because there's lots of ways that you can get involved. There's lots of clubs that you can be involved with. You know, there's like, we have a full-size bowling alley within the student with the student union. I think there's a bowling club and a bowling league. I mean, there's all kinds. If you like outdoor recreation, there's an outdoor recreation club that does all kinds of different activities. Like they do camping and backpacking and whitewater rafting and skiing. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that you can get involved on campus. There's student government, if that's something that you have an interest in. And I would encourage you to keep an open mind about different things that you might want to do. Now, do you customarily work full or part-time during the regular school year?
Back then I would do part-time, not really.
Okay.
I don't do full-time work. And even now I work with the school. It's like an internship I'm currently taking with student government.
Oh, okay. With which school? Foothill?
Foothill, yeah. Foothill.
Okay. So if you're involved in student government at Foothill, I would encourage you to explore those options at SJSU as well. If that's something that you feel inspired to do, since you've already got some experience, I think you could translate that very easily to San Jose State. And again, it's another great way to get involved and meet different people and learn more about, you know, how the university is functioning. And then again, it's really just a great way to really kind of the two big pluses is it's a great way to social network. It's a great way to meet people, and it looks good on your resume.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So great way to stay involved. I asked about employment, because some of our students work full time, some of our students work part time, some of our students don't work at all while they're going to school. So the way that your time is going to be managed is really going to sort of be up to you and what your personal life, school life, work life. You know, there's always sort of that balance that you're trying to strike. Between taking care of, you know, family and friends. Some students have, you know, like families of their own, work life and your professional life, and then just, you know, you personally, sort of what you need to do. So oftentimes that can, and then everything that you have to do with school, it can be hard to find that balance. So again, there are ways that we can help you do that planning and kind of help you think about those things as well. So but a lot of that is just going to happen over time naturally as you sort of get a feel for what the classes are like, get a feel for how much time you need to devote to each different, you know, thing that you're doing, how long it takes things to happen on campus. This is something that I'll let you know right now. make sure that you keep track of all of your communication with me or with the university, because it's getting better. Mostly now the university has finally, over the last year, largely because of COVID, moved towards basically everything is electronic now. So all the forms that you fill out are all electronically completed. No, document transfer, it's all electronically completed. But even with that, it ultimately, your education is your responsibility, and nobody's going to care about it as much as you. We're here to help you, but I am helping you, and I'm helping, this student and this student and this student and this student. So I can't dedicate the same amount of time that you can dedicate to your own education. So keep track of your documents, keep track of emails, keep records of everything that you do, because if it disappears, and sometimes that happens, if you submitted a form and it disappears and you didn't keep a copy, there's really not a lot we can do other than resend the form, and that can delay things. So make sure that you just keep, it's very common. San Jose State University is a huge bureaucracy. Things get lost, people delete emails just drop for some, there's all kinds of technical glitches that can happen. So just make sure you keep copies and records of all of your school documents.
So I do have one question. This happened to some students at Foothill. I don't know if it happens at San Jose too, or it might. But some students said that they took classes, and then once they finished the class, it kind of got erased. So they had no way of confirming they had taken the class, except for some students that saved the syllabus of the class. Do you recommend I save the syllabus, or do you think that the records will show that I took classes of a certain class without having to save that document?
Yeah. Saving a syllabus won't do anything, because you can download a syllabus from the internet. It's not that hard to get a hold of a syllabus. I've never heard of any students at San Jose State who were taking classes at San Jose State and then the San Jose State class disappeared. That's not something I've ever heard of. So I wouldn't worry about that here. What can happen is that if you have classes that you thought were going to transfer from Foothill, they may or may not make it over. Sometimes that happens, and that may just be a simple technical failure, or there may be something there, a Foothill class maybe didn't qualify for one reason or another. So you do want to keep track of any coursework that you're transferring from community college to San Jose State. Make sure that you have a copy of your transcripts. Make sure, you have to stay on top of that. Sometimes for some reason I've had a few students, it's not common, but I have had instances in the past where a student would have their records transferred from their community college and it just wasn't showing up at San Jose State. There just wasn't any record of the transcript ever coming. And better to learn that early than in your last semester, when suddenly you get your what's called a degree audit. The registrar, when you apply for graduation, the registrar does an audit of all of the requirements for your major, and they check to see, okay, did you get that class? Did you get that class? Did you get that? And for some reason, classes from your community college didn't transfer over, and that if you wait too long, that could even potentially delay your graduation. So it's always worthwhile. Just make sure everything got transferred over. Make sure you have a copy of it. But in terms of classes that you actually take at San Jose State, those will not disappear mysteriously. Even if you withdraw from a class after a drop deadline, it will still appear on your transcripts. But keep copies and keep records of your own. Don't count on the fact that somebody else is going to have keep copies of your academic documents.
I see. Okay. Will do.
Mostly we do. I keep copies of this document that we're working on. I'm going to keep a copy of it, and I'm going to send you a copy of it. But don't, things happen. If maybe my hard drive crashes and I lose all my documents and you need it right away, if you're relying on me to provide it for you at the last minute, and I say, well, sorry, my hard drive crashed, I don't have any access to these documents right now, you're kind of out of luck. Make sure that you keep a copy for yourself.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Will do.
Okay. So we're looking at your fall semester. This is what I'm going to encourage you to enroll in. I don't think that you can do your enrollment until a little bit later in the summer, which is fine. Our classes almost never fill. Recreation is currently considered a low enrolled major. We have a relatively small enrollment compared, for example, to public health, who is, they're our partner in the department. So we're the Department of Public Health and Recreation. And public health is huge. They've got something like 700 or 800 undergraduates. And by comparison, recreation has about 160. Now, we don't have any aspirations to getting to 800 students. That's just massive, and it's unwieldy. So we are looking to grow the program, but we're not interested in getting quite that big. One of the advantages, though, of having a relatively small major is that it's, for example, easy to get in touch with faculty, and it's easy to get enrolled in your classes. So don't worry about not being able to get in. I think you won't have any trouble getting into any of the classes that we've got you in for the fall, even when you're enrolling a little bit later in the summer. So at this point, what I'd like to propose is these are going to be your fall classes. I'm going to send you this document, and then you and well, what I'd like you to do is put on your calendar in, let me see, I'm going to stop sharing. Where are we? So I'm going to suggest that you put in your calendar, I think August 19th is when classes start. So I'm going to say, what is let's see, I don't think we have let me just, Michelle, can I get your help here for a second?
Yes.
Do you happen to have the drop deadline for fall 21 in front
It
of
should
you?
be 2 weeks after the first day of class, but I can double
2
check.
weeks typically. Oh, that's okay. So we'll figure about 2 weeks. So what I'm going to suggest is that
Oh, it's August 31st.
August 31st. Thank you. Okay. So what I'd like to do, Angel, is have you put on your calendar for the week of, I would say, get in touch with me, put on your calendar to reach out to me on August 25th, 26th, or 27th. And what we'll do is we'll set up a time to meet, and we'll have a conversation about how you feel about the classes up to that point. In other words, if you will have had, it's not a ton of time, but you will have had a week to look at sort of what the classes are, what the requirements are, and then we can have a conversation about how you feel about the number of classes that you're taking. 5 classes feels super comfortable, no problem, let's go forward. 5 classes feels a little bit overwhelming to me. I think I'd maybe like to drop one of the classes. I'd like to go down to 4 just in this first semester. We'll have that conversation then. And then put on your calendar for us to have a conversation sometime in September. Just kind of put that in your, can be basically any time, but let's say, well, let's see, October.
September 15th?
No, actually, let me say, can't quite remember when your enrolling is going to be for the spring. Yeah, let's have a conversation actually in October. Let's have a conversation that first week in October, somewhere between the 4th and the 8th of October. So that's going to be the first full week in October. Put on your calendar to send me an email, and we'll set up a time to talk about what your spring semester is going to look like. Because by that time, you will have been in the classes for a while. Then you'll really have a good understanding. Then you'll have a really good sense of how you feel about the classes. And then I think we can profitably plan what your spring semester and then subsequent semesters are going to look like.
Awesome. I added all of them. The October one and also the one in August.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I don't really have anything more to give you at this point. Do you have questions, Anything that we didn't anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't address?
No, I think I don't have any questions. In fact, I'm already like, I don't know why, I'm already thinking about getting started.
Good.
But yeah, I guess I'm excited. I can't wait. And yeah, I'm thinking about a lot of stuff right now, related to what you said, the classes.
Hmm.
I'm thinking a lot about what you said about the reading materials. But yeah,
Listen,
I'm
it's going to
pretty
be
good.
an adjustment. Yeah, it's going to be an adjustment, and that's fine. It'll feel different when you start, and as I say, as the semester unfolds, you're going to feel more and more comfortable with how classes are run, with with what some of the terms mean. Like you'll hear things, you'll hear just like at Foothill, they talk about your counselors. Well, we call them advisors. So there's just going to be a little bit of that translation from what you were doing previously to the language that's used here in San Jose State. But you'll get the hang of it very quickly. So don't worry about it. And course workload, we'll see. You'll kind of have to see what you think, how you feel about it when you're in the fall semester, and then we'll have a couple of more conversations about what's going to be most comfortable for you going forward. Because what I really advise students to do is to try to find that balance between getting enough done so that you can get out in a time that you feel comfortable with. Some students that's 2 years, some students it's 3 years, 2 years and a semester, 2 years and maybe 2 years and a summer. You will get a sense of that. It's hard to predict what that's going to be right now. We need to see how comfortable you feel with what you're doing with what you're doing in the classroom and homework and your personal life and work life and all of the other things that you're going to be sort of balancing. And then for me, like I say, I tell students, like, the best thing you can do is find that balance between getting just enough done so you can stay on your schedule, but not so much that you're feeling miserable and overwhelmed, because then you're just making the experience terrible for yourself. And your time in school is work, but it should also be something that you get some enjoyment out of. Like, you should be enjoying and being motivated. And I'm not, the enjoyment that you feel in school is not going to be the same as the enjoyment you feel, playing team sports or going to a movie or, watching a sporting event. They're different kinds of things. But school should have there should be some joy in it for you. Otherwise, it's miserable, and it's hard if it always feels like, oh, I really hate what I'm doing and this is terrible. I don't get the impression that that's going to be your experience, because you're already motivated to be involved in recreation. So I think for somebody, and at least in my experience, for students who have expressed themselves similarly as you have been talking to me, I have found have very rich and enjoyable experiences while they're doing their degree, because they really want to be working in recreation. They want to be working in this field, and they're excited to learn the material and to go on and create, become valued professionals in the community. So I think you're going to find that the experience is really a rich one for you. But we just want to find where we've got just enough work to keep you on track, but not so much that you're feeling overwhelmed.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Joshua. I really appreciate it, and also you, Michelle, for your help. And yeah, I'm just excited now. Can't wait.
Good.
Have the
I'll
deadlines.
send you. Yep.
I'll keep up with everything.
Yeah, I'll send you this document that we worked on. And as I say, if you have any questions about anything, just feel free to reach out to me with an email. And if I can, if we want to have a conversation by email, I'll do that. Or we can set up another Zoom meeting, whatever works best for you.
Awesome. We'll do.
Okay.
Remember, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I think you were just about to say what I was going to say.
If you're leaving, remember to go back to the main room to sign in or sign out, so we have you as attendance. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for the reminder. We'll do.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna leave the room, and so you can go ahead and leave the room too, Angel, and go back to the main room.